Today at about 3:42 p.m., police were called to the 2800 block of Pelham for a shooting incident. Upon the officer's arrival, the officers located three adult male victims, all who received gunshot wounds. What we believe right now is that those gunshot wounds are non-life-threatening. If that changes, we will be certain to let you know. They were immediately transported to local area hospitals. What we believe right now is that there was at least one shooter on foot who was in the block who fired at a group of individuals who were in that block. It just so happened that there was a Safe Street planned cookout in the block, not related to where the other individuals and the victims were. And so these individuals were shot. The perpetrator apparently fled on foot, at least in the first part of his flight. We believe it is a male perpetrator. But we're now looking for someone who fired and shot three individuals, could have shot and injured and or killed many more. Once again, the individuals who are the victims here were not part of the Safe Streets planned cookout in that block. Safe Streets employees were preparing and setting up for a planned event, and none of them are injured, and it is totally separate from the three victims who were injured because of gunfire. What we need right now is anyone who would have any information about the perpetrator of this shooting, who it is, where he went, and how this happened. We need them to call us right away, or you can do it anonymously by calling Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCK, 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. Once again, two separate incidents in the same block, unrelated to one another. Safe Streets had a planned event. These individuals were also in the block and were victims. Right now, their injuries are non-life-threatening, but there could have been many more people hurt and killed. And this speaks to the senseless violence, the cowardice, the brazenness of an individual in broad daylight to open fire on anybody, much less three people indiscriminately in a crowd. We talk about it all the time, the guns that are in the city and people's willingness to use those guns to solve their conflict, to get revenge, all of the above. It has to stop. Once we find this individual, we will hold them accountable. We will hold them accountable and prosecute them to the full extent of the law. At this time, I want to turn it over to our mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We know that we have a very unfortunate incident of violence in Bella Edison, a community that works very hard each and every day to remain a strong community, to rid itself of the disease of violence. We know that folks who are not in their right mind do things like this individual did today. But we will find this individual, we will hold them accountable, we will make sure that they and anyone else involved in trying to solve any kind of issue through simple violence, that they'll be held accountable. But before anyone asks, this will not stop the work that is happening in this neighborhood through Safe Streets, through the Bella Edison Community Association, through Bella Edison Neighborhoods Incorporated, who are going to not just work like they always have, but harder, because these kind of things have happened in their neighborhood. The work must and will go on, because the community, us together with the city, will work sure that we are ridding ourselves of this kind of activity. Madam Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Commissioner. As the Commissioner mentioned, the Safe Streets installation at Bella Edison was having a planned event.
Okay, so we are actually wrapping up right now. You just heard from the Commissioner and you heard from Mayor Scott talking about what happened here today. Right now, it's believed that those three people who were shot received non-life-threatening injuries. That's what they know right now. If anything changes, as they mentioned, they will update us. However, there is still a very active presence here. There are a lot of police. There are still quite a few streets that are blocked off. So for anyone who's driving up Bel Air Road towards Kentucky Avenue or Chesterfield Avenue, it is best for you to take a different route to get to your location, because this is still a very active scene. And we're going to bring you more later on WMAR-2 News. For now, reporting live, Brittany Werner, WMAR. Back to you guys in the studio.
Well, the event, which event are you speaking about? The triple shooting. We believe this individual was
Thank you.
At least at some point and opened fire and struck three individuals who were out there in that block. That appears that he was targeting at least one person, but struck three. It could have been more. This is a very brazen, very cowardly act. I would imagine that this person was targeting somebody. That's a very, very intentional act, and we will very intentionally seek out and find this individual.
Commissioner, were any of the victims Safe Streets workers?
None of the victims were Safe Streets workers. So all of the Safe Street workers are free from injury at this point. Certainly, having witnessed this and been in close proximity, there are issues we need to deal with to make sure they stay safe and that they stay strong emotionally. But none of the victims were Safe Streets workers. This was totally separate, but in the block.
Commissioner, can you talk about how the Safe Streets workers were here for their event, a community strengthening event? How disturbing is that for them to know that they're here for that and for something like this to happen just a few feet from where they were setting up?
I'll take that one, sir.
Sure.
I think that they know, these brothers and sisters know, they know this is why they are here. They're in this neighborhood because this neighborhood has a history of that. But you can still hear, you heard the music playing, they're not going to let this sway them. They're going to be even more dedicated to the work. As the director said, they immediately rush to do what they do, and that's protect people and make sure that the neighborhood is safe. This is why they're here. They signed up to do this because this is their calling to make their city a safer place.
Mayor Scott, we did talk to many of the neighbors, and they do commend the work that Safe Streets is doing in this neighborhood. But what do you think it says about the fact that this did happen so close to a Safe Streets location?
Yeah, the same thing I tell you every day. The same thing I say when something happens to a police officer. The same thing I say when it happens to anybody. Some people just don't care, whether it's Safe Streets workers, whether it's a cookout, whether it's a grandmother, whether it's a police officer. This is why we have to understand that we have to hold these individuals accountable, but at the same time, we have to work to build better people, because people who are doing these kind of things clearly are not in the right state of mind, and also don't care about many of the things that we get asked consistently, whether there's a police officer standing there or not, whether there's next to a Safe Streets cookout or not. We have to look at this from the top to bottom, inside and out.
Are you pretty sure there's only one perpetrator?
The information we have right now leads us to believe that there was at least one. We're working to find evidence to support that there was either one or more than one, and detectives are working right now to get the answers to those questions.
Do you have a better description of the shooting?
The only description we have is that we believe it's a male perpetrator. Nothing further at this time. No direction of flight. That's why it's so critically important for anyone who would have heard anything or seen anything, or someone repeated it to someone else, to call us or call Crime Stoppers right away.
And you said he took off on foot?
He did take off on foot. It is unknown if he continued on foot or got into a vehicle at some point. Those are questions we're asking, looking for answers to.
Any cameras in the area that may have...
We're searching for that as we speak. All right? Thank you all.
said something about they scattered into different areas for safety. Can you talk a little bit about that?
What I can tell you is that people went into rescue mode to help those individuals who were injured. We had medics on the scene pretty quickly that transported all three victims to local area hospitals. It was a very chaotic scene, if you can imagine, and our Safe Streets workers responded, as they always do, marvelously and bravely.
One last question, if possible. Is it the house at the corner that you guys are focusing on?
We're only focusing on the block where this happened, but thank you for that. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. You're welcome.
Are you feeling it? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No now, tomorrow, yes. Always in
No now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, on my way home.
Switching. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's back and forth, up and down.
Yeah, I get it.